This is the Washington Times front page for Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. Federal investigators say the air traffic controller managing flights at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport reported to a supervisor that he was overwhelmed minutes before a fatal collision last year. Susan Ferricchio reports the National Transportation Safety Board said the air traffic controller was managing 12 aircraft, including 5 helicopters, in the 90 seconds leading up to the January 29th crash. The crash killed 64 passengers and crew members aboard American Airlines Flight 5342 and 3 crew members on an Army Black Hawk helicopter over the Potomac River. In a post-accident interview, the controller told investigators that about 10 minutes before the collision, he alerted the supervisor in the tower that he felt a little overwhelmed, but his supervisor did not take action to reduce his workload. The NTSB faulted the Federal Aviation Administration for numerous missteps ahead of the crash and for failing to review the frequency of arrivals at the airport. Despite near-miss incidents, the FAA failed to act on a recommendation issued more than a decade ago to move helicopter traffic away from the airport. Democrats on Capitol Hill are rallying to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, but say they prefer she go on her own or be fired. Seth McLaughlin and Stephen Dinan report some activists have demanded Democrats refuse to approve new funding for DHS until Noem leaves. Inside the department, some names were circulating as potential replacements. One source said former Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin and former Utah Representative Jason Chaffetz were mentioned. House Democratic leaders said Noem will face impeachment proceedings unless President Trump fires her. Trump told reporters Tuesday that Noem wasn't going to step down. Calls for Noem's removal come after federal officers have killed 2 Americans in the last month around immigration enforcement activities in Minnesota. Protests in the Twin Cities have been rampant, Rowan Scarborough reports, including at a church service January 18th in St. Paul. The Justice Department has filed charges against 3 people for interrupting the service. A criminal complaint said the 3 violated the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act by conspiring to injure, oppress, threaten, and intimidate the rights of other persons. Construction of a wall on the southern U.S. border with Mexico is moving much more slowly in President Trump's second term. Stephen Dinan and Alex Sawyer report as of January 21st, approximately 27 miles of new barrier have been completed, a rate of about 0.2 of a mile per day. Nearly 7 of those miles were completed by the Defense Department. Customs and Border Protection, the agency that oversees the border, has finished about 20 miles, despite expansive legal powers to waive environmental laws and $46.5 billion from a spending bill passed by Congress. About 644 miles of the 1,954-mile border have been walled off so far. And finally, in Nigeria, advocates are wondering if more weapons shipments from the United States will disrupt Nigeria's terrorist networks or reinforce a system that experts say profits from denial and delay. Mike Glenn reports armed terrorists stormed 3 Christian churches in the rural farming community of Kerman Wali nearly 2 weeks ago and abducted 166 people. Government officials dismissed reports of the abductions as false before kidnappings were confirmed through on-site reporting. Nigeria's government has sought to counter growing scrutiny by contracting DCI Group, a Republican-linked lobbying firm, to reframe its security record. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on social media at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.